Chapter 2, Luck and Risk. Why your financial luck has nothing to do with being smart, the hidden truth about money success. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have all the luck when it comes to money? You know those folks, they invest in a stock and it skyrockets, they buy a house right before prices boom, or they start a business that takes off like a rocket. Meanwhile, you might be sitting there scratching your head, thinking you're just not cut out for financial success. Well, here's a secret that might blow your mind: luck plays a way bigger role in money than anyone wants to admit. In Chapter 2 of The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel drops a truth bomb that makes most people uncomfortable. He explains that while we love to believe that wealth comes from being super smart or having special skills, the reality is much more complicated. Success with money often comes down to being in the right place at the right time, making decisions that happen to work out, and sometimes just plain old good fortune. This doesn't mean skill doesn't matter at all, but it means that luck is like a secret ingredient that nobody talks about at dinner parties. This chapter teaches us something important about how we should think about our own money journeys and how we judge others. When we understand the role of luck, we become more humble about our successes and more understanding about our failures. We also learn to make better decisions because we stop trying to copy what lucky people did and start focusing on what we can actually control. The uncomfortable truth about success stories. Let's start with a story that might sound familiar. Picture this: it's 1975, and two young guys decide to drop out of college to start a computer company. Sounds crazy, right? Most people would call them foolish for throwing away their education. But these two guys were Bill Gates and Paul Allen, and their little company became Microsoft. Today, people point to this story and say, "See? That's what happens when you're brilliant and take big risks." But here's what most people don't know about Bill Gates' success. He was born into a wealthy family that could afford to send him to Lakeside School, one of the only schools in the country that had a computer terminal in 1968. This was like having a rocket ship in your backyard when everyone else was still riding horses. Gates got to spend thousands of hours practicing programming when most kids his age didn't even know what a computer was. He was also born at exactly the right time. If he had been born 10 years earlier or later, the computer revolution might have passed him by. Now, don't get me wrong. Bill Gates is definitely smart and worked incredibly hard. But thousands of other smart, hard-working people didn't become billionaires because they weren't in the right place at the right time. They didn't have access to computers as teenagers, or they were born too early or too late, or they lived in a place where opportunities weren't available. The difference between Gates and these other smart people wasn't just skill, it was luck. This pattern shows up everywhere in finance and business. The person who bought Amazon stock in 1997 and held onto it looks like a genius now, but back then, most experts thought online bookstores were a terrible idea. The family that bought a house in San Francisco in 1970 for $25,000 that's now worth $2 million weren't necessarily smarter than the family that bought in Detroit, they just picked a different city. These examples show us that success stories are often more complicated than they appear on the surface. Why we hate admitting luck exists. Here's something weird about humans: we really don't like to admit that luck plays a role in our lives. When good things happen to us, we want to believe it's because we're smart and made great choices. When bad things happen, we want to believe there was something we could have done differently. This makes sense because it helps us feel like we have control over our lives. But this thinking can actually hurt us when it comes to money. Think about the last time you heard someone brag about their investment success. Did they mention how lucky they were, or did they talk about their research and strategy? Most people focus on skill because it makes them feel good and impresses others. But this creates a dangerous illusion. When we believe our success comes purely from skill, we might take bigger risks because we think we know what we're doing. We might also ignore warning signs because we're overconfident in our abilities. The flip side is just as problematic. When we fail, we often blame ourselves completely, even when bad luck played a major role. Someone who loses their job during a recession might think they weren't good enough, when really they were just unlucky to be in the wrong industry at the wrong time. This can lead to shame and poor decision-making, like avoiding all risk in the future or making desperate moves to catch up. Society makes this problem worse by celebrating winners and ignoring losers, even when the difference between them might be tiny. We write books about successful entrepreneurs but not about the equally talented ones who failed because of bad timing. We interview millionaires about their strategies but don't talk to people who used the same strategies and lost money. This creates a false picture of how money and success actually work in the real world. The hidden danger of survivor bias. Let me tell you about a problem that trips up smart people all the time. It's called survivor bias, and it's like only hearing from people who won the lottery while ignoring everyone who bought tickets and lost. In the money world, this happens constantly, and it leads to some pretty bad decisions. Here's how it works. Imagine 1,000 people all decide to start investing in the stock market using different strategies. After 10 years, maybe 50 of them have made a lot of money, 200 have done okay, and 750 have either broken even or lost money. Which group do you think writes books, gives interviews, and teaches courses about investing? That's right, it's mostly the 50 who got lucky and made big profits. But here's the tricky part, those 50 successful investors probably believe their success came from their brilliant strategies, not from luck. They'll tell you exactly what they did and why it worked. The problem is that some of the 750 unsuccessful investors probably used very similar strategies but just had bad luck. Maybe they picked similar stocks but bought them right before a market crash, or they had to sell during a downturn because of a family emergency. This creates a really dangerous situation for new investors. They read about these success stories and think, if I just do what that person did, I'll be rich too. But they're only seeing half the picture. They're seeing the winners without seeing all the people who tried the same things and failed. It's like trying to learn how to drive by only watching videos of people who never got in accidents. You're missing some pretty important information about what can go wrong. The same thing happens with business success stories, real estate investments, and even career choices. We hear about the restaurant owner who started with $500 and built a chain, but we don't hear about the 95% of restaurants that close within 5 years. We read about the person who quit their job to travel the world and became a successful blogger, but we don't hear about the thousands who tried the same thing and ended up broke. Learning to balance skill and luck. So if luck is so important, does that mean skill doesn't matter at all? Should we just give up and buy lottery tickets? Definitely not. The key is understanding how skill and luck work together, like dancers in a complicated routine. Good financial decisions can improve your odds of success, even though they can't guarantee it. Bad decisions can ruin you, even if you get some good luck along the way. Think of it like this, skill is what keeps you in the game long enough for good luck to find you. If you save money regularly, avoid debt you can't handle, and don't put all your eggs in one basket, you're setting yourself up to take advantage of opportunities when they come. You're also protecting yourself from bad luck that could wipe you out completely. This might not sound as exciting as finding the next big stock winner, but it's much more reliable. The smartest approach is to prepare for both good and bad luck. This means having an emergency fund for when unexpected bad things happen, like losing your job or having a medical emergency. It also means positioning yourself to benefit when good things happen, like keeping some money available to invest when the stock market crashes and everything goes on sale. People who do well with money over long periods usually aren't the ones who hit home runs, they're the ones who consistently get on base and avoid striking out. Another important part of balancing skill and luck is staying humble about your successes and failures. When something goes well, ask yourself, how much of this was skill, and how much was luck? When something goes poorly, ask the same question. This helps you learn the right lessons from your experiences instead of drawing the wrong conclusions. It also helps you treat other people with more kindness and understanding, whether they're doing better or worse than you are. Building wealth despite uncertainty. Now that we understand luck's role in money, how do we actually build wealth in an uncertain world? The answer might surprise you because it's actually pretty simple, even though it's not always easy to follow. The secret is focusing on what you can control while preparing for what you can't control. First, let's talk about what you can control. You can control how much you spend compared to how much you earn. You can control whether you save money regularly, even if it's just a small amount. You can control whether you educate yourself about basic financial concepts. You can control whether you avoid debt for things you don't really need. These might seem boring compared to picking winning stocks, but they're the foundation that everything else builds on. You can also control your time horizon, which is super important but often overlooked. The longer you can leave your money invested, the more time you have for compound growth to work its magic. This also gives you more time to recover from bad luck and more opportunities to benefit from good luck. Someone who starts investing at 25 and stops at 35 will likely end up with more money at 65 than someone who starts at 35 and invests until 65, even though the second person invested for much longer. The things you can't control include market crashes, inflation, interest rate changes, and countless other economic factors. You also can't control when you might lose your job, get sick, or face other personal emergencies. But here's the good news: you can prepare for these uncertainties without knowing exactly what will happen. Keep some money in safe, easily accessible accounts for emergencies. Don't put all your investments in one type of asset or one company. Don't borrow so much money that a small setback could ruin you. The power of staying in the game. One of the most important lessons from understanding luck's role in money is this: your primary goal should be to stay in the game long enough for good things to happen. This means avoiding decisions that could knock you out completely, even if those decisions might lead to big wins if they work out. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have $10,000 to invest, and someone offers you a bet. If you win, you'll get $100,000. If you lose, you'll lose everything. Even if this bet has a 60% chance of winning, it might not be smart to take it. Why? Because if you lose, your financial journey is over. You're out of the game completely. But if you invest that $10,000 more conservatively, you might only make $50,000 over time, but you're almost guaranteed to stay in the game and keep building wealth. This principle applies to all kinds of financial decisions. Taking on too much debt, putting all your money in one investment, or quitting your job without any savings might work out great if you get lucky. But if you get unlucky, you might face consequences that take years to recover from. The people who build lasting wealth usually aren't the ones who take the biggest risks, they're the ones who take smart risks while protecting themselves from catastrophic losses. Staying in the game also means being patient and not panicking when things go wrong temporarily. Every successful investor has lived through multiple market crashes, recessions, and periods when their investments lost money. The difference between successful and unsuccessful investors often isn't what happens to them, it's how they react to what happens to them. The successful ones stay calm, stick to their long-term plans, and sometimes even see downturns as opportunities to buy more at lower prices. Understanding the role of luck in money success isn't meant to discourage you or make you feel hopeless. Instead, it should actually make you feel more confident and peaceful about your financial journey. When you accept that you can't control everything, you can focus your energy on the things you actually can control. You can also be more patient with your progress and more understanding when things don't go according to plan. The biggest takeaway from Chapter 2 is that building wealth is less about being brilliant and more about being consistent, patient, and prepared. Save money regularly, avoid catastrophic risks, keep learning, and give yourself time for good things to happen. Don't compare your behind-the-scenes struggles to other people's highlight reels, because you never know how much of their success came from luck versus skill. Remember that everyone's financial journey is different, and that's okay. Your job isn't to copy someone else's path to success, it's to build a financial life that works for your specific situation and goals. Focus on making good decisions with the information you have, prepare for uncertainty, and stay in the game long enough for compound growth and good fortune to work in your favor. Most importantly, be kind to yourself and others along the way, because we're all doing our best in an uncertain world where luck plays a bigger role than any of us would like to admit. If you like the summary for this chapter, please subscribe, like, and comment on our channel for upcoming chapters. Thank you.